Hello everyone and welcome back to another book review. Today is a very special day. I am reviewing the final book in a manga series that I have been reading for a while, Haikyu by Haruichi Furudate. Today I am reviewing volume 45, which is the last book in the series, or the last volume in this series. I'm going to be talking about the plot specifically of volume 45 and what happens in this volume, as well as my thoughts of the series overall and the things that it has inspired me to do in real life. Haikyu was a very good series, but let's first start with just volume 45 before we start getting into a review of the entire series. So volume 45, we have kind of moved, and this happened a couple volumes ago, from a focus on the high school team, Karasuno High School, to a focus on professional play. Hinata, Kageyama, as well as many other members of the Karasuno High School team have advanced to the professional league, and they are now playing in the top league in Japan for professional male volleyball players. The story that's taken up the last couple volumes and takes up a portion of this volume in volume 45 is a team between the Schweiden Adlers, which is the team Kageyama plays on, and the team Black Jackals, which is the team Hinata plays on. So this is a rematch of the first game that we see in the series between Kageyama and Hinata, where they were in middle school, and Hinata kind of vows that he's going to become a volleyball player, and Kageyama is acting as the king of the court. In this scene, in this volume, we're redoing that, but everyone's at a professional level. Kageyama is clearly a very advanced player. Hinata has achieved his dream, and it's a callback to those earliest volumes in the series where we've seen the completion of these, or the evolution of these two individuals as pro volleyball players. So the focus of this book is a little bit on the game between these two pro teams. This isn't the only game they're going to play against each other. They're going to play against each other more to come in the season, but I think it's a good ending point for the series. There is kind of a battle of which team's going to win, but I don't actually think it matters which team wins. I don't actually think it matters whether Kageyama's team wins or Hinata's team wins, because it's more of this conclusion to wrap up the entire series, and you definitely get that as you go through the volume. The volume has a lot of touching tributes to characters. Furudate has taken a lot of time to build characters throughout 45 volumes, so I think it's really good that he's taking this final volume to pay tribute to all these characters that he's created. Not only the characters, but also the teams. A lot of the teams that Karasuno High School played against at their high school years, or these players who played on that high school team played against in their high school years, had team banners, and there's a lot of characters that we, the readers, are familiar with, having read 45 volumes. And the author takes time to pay tributes to each of these teams, each of the mottos, and has a lot of throwback or nostalgic-esque scenes to kind of call the reader's attention back to those previous volumes. I think this wrap-up volume was done really, really well. Nothing was rushed. You kind of felt like we were just taking time to appreciate the series. There were a couple of scenes that I wanted to point out. So here's one. We have Hinata versus Kageyama. This is during the Pro League game, and they have the Karasuno banner fly here, and then we have Hinata and Kageyama on this side. So I really liked this one, and probably my favorite is this one, where we have pretty much every person, or many of the people we've seen throughout the series, in one volleyball court doing some sort of little practice game. If you have this volume, you know what this page is. There's a lot of banners around the edge. It's a very good callback to everything that we've read in the series, and I really thought this was probably the best page in the whole book, in my opinion. And I felt like this was a really nice touch and tribute to all the characters that we know, all the characters that we've seen. As you look through the characters, you recognize almost all of them, and I think it was just a really good compilation of all the work that has gone into the last 44 volumes. I do like that this series, or this final volume in the series, shows Kageyama and Hinata not only as competitors in this game with the pro leagues, but they also have a little touching moment where they show them in the future competing together side by side, representing their country in the Olympics. So we have the international stage and them competing as teammates. So we have Hinata and Kageyama both as opponents and playing against each other, as well as teammates and working with each other in this series, or in this particular volume, which I really like that moment that they're not just forever now opponents, but they can also work together to represent their nation at the national stage. So this series overall, I can't say enough good things about this. I initially blew off the recommendation to read this series, and I should probably stop doing that because whenever I blow off these recommendations, they wind up being really good. Another case in point is my aunt recommending me the series Check Please. I'm trying to think of any others, but whenever I get these recommendations, I always wind up sitting on them longer than I should because this has been a really good series. The author has a really good writing style. The writing is really good, and the tenseness of the volleyball games were also really well done. That I really appreciated that as well. A very, very good series. It was very, I wasn't crying for days, but it was a very emotional end to read something for so long and then reach the end of the series and realize this is the completion of these characters and the storyline that you've been following for a long time. Ending the series did put me into a little bit of a fiction book hangover. I say fiction book hangover because usually when reading a series that puts me into like a book hangover, I can still read the opposite type of book, if that makes sense. So I'm currently happily reading plenty of nonfiction because I feel like that hasn't been impacted, but I'm scared to start another fiction book because I know it's probably not going to be as good as this one. I feel like I just need to read a quick read that I'm not expecting too much out of to get over this little book hangover. This series has also encouraged or inspired me to do a lot of stuff outside of reading, which I really like when a book does that. I really like it when a book impacts me beyond just reading or learning or having an entertaining time. I actually started going to drop-in volleyball at my local gym, and I got involved with some local volleyball rec teams to play around because I had quit volleyball in middle school, late elementary school or middle school because I didn't really like it. I didn't like the team I played on. But after reading this series, I got partway through and I was like, wait, volleyball seems like a really fun sport. This is not the experience that I had in middle school. What's different? I think the team dynamics on my team were a little different, I do have to admit, but I've kind of come back into loving the sport, having been inspired by reading this series and seeing, hey, these people seem to be having a lot of fun in this fictional series. I wonder if I were to try it again, if I would have more enjoyment as an adult. And it turns out that I did. And I feel like I really enjoy it when a book has a real impact in my real life outside of reading. I feel like this happens more often with nonfiction books because they're things I can apply. So it's especially unique that a fiction book has had such an impact on my life outside of just reading it. I highly recommend this series. I do think it's very tense at times, so be prepared for that. But if you were looking for a manga series and you haven't read this, I definitely would recommend this series. If you like sports manga, I feel like I want to read another sports manga series, but I don't know if any of them are going to be this good, so I'm going to probably give it a little bit of a rest for now to kind of let this book hangover pass, and then maybe I'll try another sports manga in the future to see if I like it. Love this series. I'm recommending it to everyone who I think would enjoy this series in my life. I think this is a great author. I think the writing was good, the story was good, the plot was good, the art was beautiful, the character building was especially good. I felt connected to a lot of the characters, not just the team that we were following for the vast majority of the plot. And I thought the whole thing was well done, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm so excited to move on and kind of have this checked off my list, but at the same time, I really appreciate the fact that I got to read this series and I had such enjoyment out of it, and it's had such a positive impact outside of me reading it and just being a book that I've read. I'm sure that if you're watching this video, you have either read this series or want to read this series, so please leave your thoughts on the series in the comment section below. I love to receive comments on what your thoughts on the book are. I like to read them. If you have any suggestions for things that maybe I would like following this series, then please leave those down below as well. Again, I'm in a book hangover, so I kind of need suggestions, so please leave those down below. I love to receive them. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.